Good evening, friends, and welcome to another edition of Crime Time with Dutyron and Ed Wallace. You know the drill, folks. We're retired New York City police detectives and 9/11 World Trade Center first responders. If you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you get all things Dutyron and this guy over here, Ed Wallace, when we go live or upload another video. Hey, today, a lot of things happening here. The wheels of justice were spinning at a very fast rate. Luigi Mangione thought he was going to wind up in Manhattan Supreme Court facing the charges levied against him, but they threw a curveball at him and they hit him with federal charges. And Ed Wallace, I gotta say, and I keep doing this, I tip my cap to you, my brother. You made a statement on one of our previous live streams that you were hoping that the feds would take over. You didn't get everything you wished for, but you got almost what you wished for. Ed, want to talk about it?
Yeah, well, I said in previous episodes here that I hope the feds step in, and they did step in. Now, mind you, he's not been charged. He's not been indicted. He's only been arrested. So the feds did an affidavit.
Federally, he's indicted. He's indicted on the state level.
Right. He's indicted on state level. I'm talking about the feds.
Right.
So they did a probable cause hearing with a judge, and they had probable cause to make an arrest. And so that's all they've done at this point. I mean, there are several charges that are listed on their federal paperwork for probable cause to arrest, and several charges listed. But I just think those charges are placeholders. I think there's more to come, because in all the charges that they have, there are all the interstate charges. They have not charged him with any of the terrorism crimes yet. Now, here's something I've learned over my many years in the police department and counterterrorism. The feds like to control all things terrorism. So
right.
once the Manhattan DA charged first-degree murder and second-degree murder with the terrorism clauses, somebody's let's say, how should we say this? Somebody's panties got in a little ruffle.
I was going to say their antennas rose, but you you threw a different curve into that one.
Yeah. Okay. And so now they had to step in. Now, the lawyers, all these defense lawyers and talking heads on the, he's been overcharged and he's been this and he's been that. These charges are never going to stick. And I say, bullshit.
Hold on. You say,
oh, hell no. That's right. That's right. I said, no. Go
ahead, Ed. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, if the average Joe reads the law in both the federal and the state penal law, you see that this perpetrator meets these definitions. He did everything that is outlined in these laws. Okay, so I see down the road terrorism charges being brought against him, because there's no way the feds would just step in just for these handgun crimes.
Yeah, we're going to put it up on the screen. Hang on, guys. At the end or towards the middle, we'll show it. We have a special guest from the Department of Corrections who's going to come on and talk to us about conditions at the Bureau of Prisons, which is where he's at, the MDC, which is the Manhattan Detention Center. It's the only federal prison in New York City. And this is the same prison where P. Diddy is right now, currently. We had Ghislaine Maxwell and many other notable cases that were, defendants were housed there, awaiting their trials.
Yeah, it's funny though that his lawyer is the wife rather of the lawyer representing P. Diddy. So now both their clients are in the same prison.
Yeah. Her husband, Mark Angafello, I don't know if I'm saying it right, is P. Diddy's attorney, and he made an appearance today in federal court with his wife, Karen, who is Luigi's attorney, he also walked out of federal court today, 500 Pearl Street. He walked out of federal court today with his wife on crutches, and he had the personal property bag. He was holding Luigi Mangione's personal property bag that we saw the NYPD detectives carrying off of the Whirlybird, off of the NYPD chopper. So we'll play that in a minute. But here's a criminal defense attorney on Fox 5 talking about the death penalty component, because that's where this takes this to another level when you're talking about the feds. Because as we know, Ed, federal prosecutors have a humongously high success rate on their prosecuting of their cases. It's in the 90s. I mean,
yeah, well, but we're talking about a very rich family here, who has money. All right, usually,
but I look at the stats.
Yeah, but the stats, the stats don't tell you everything, because a lot of people just give up and take a plea because the feds are bankrupting them during the course of the prosecution.
Yeah, it's probably going to be an unlimited supply of fundage for the defense. Let's take a listen to this, Ed, and then we'll get to our guest.
All right, we're getting into the debrief on Luigi Mangione's day in court. The suspect in the CEO murder was handed over to authorities this morning and arraigned on federal charges, including a count.
So this is the bag that I'm talking about, and I won't stop it again, but this is the bag that we're going to see Mangione's husband, attorney's husband, holding that same bag when he comes out of court.
Of murder that could bring the death penalty. His attorney says that she was prepared to appear in state court with her client, and the federal charges were sprung on them.
Yeah, that is interesting. Joining us now to break this all down is former Brooklyn prosecutor Imran Ansari. Imran, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So walk us through how this became a federal case, because you've got the Fed charges, and then what does that do to the state case?
Well, it's highly unusual what happened here. Unusual not only because now you have this state case and also now parallel federal charges, but also the speed of what happened. You have the state case, you have the murder charge there, but now you have the federal case and this indictment. I expect that although Alvin Bragg today stated that both will proceed on parallel tracks, by virtue of it being a federal prosecution, by virtue of federal courts moving all the more faster, I believe the federal case is going to outpace the state case. And ultimately, Mangione is going to be facing those charges in court first. And if there's a trial, I certainly believe that the federal case will be the one taking precedent.
It's interesting, though, because we do see that this is also DA Alvin Bragg's doing. He had a pretty straightforward case of second-degree murder, but by complicating this, you're already having to deal with a jury that may be pretty sympathetic to Mangione. So why would he do this?
Well, the state charge has the first-degree murder charge, which is in furtherance of an act of terrorism. That's a rare charge in itself. You don't normally see that being charged. And some people think that it may make the job for Alvin Bragg and his office all the more difficult. But you did see a reaction after the crime in terms of CEOs of other big corporations, healthcare and big pharma, all getting security personnel, wiping their web pages of their profiles and whatnot. So that act of terrorism or public intimidation, which is part of the statute, can arguably be proven by the state case. And then, of course, now you have the federal case, which is murder with the use of a firearm. The feds get the jurisdiction because Mangione crossed state lines in order to commit this alleged murder. And that's why the feds have this case now. Now, Alvin Bragg's case is somewhat on a different theory than the federal case, which is why also legally both these cases can proceed separately, although I think the defense are going to be attacking that and the constitutionality and things like that as we go forward with both cases.
Yeah, I want to rewind just a little bit what we talked about at the top of our segment, just that Mangione's lawyer said she was kind of in a way caught off guard. She was ready to appear in state court and then these federal charges were sprung upon them. Is that unusual?
No, it's absolutely unusual. I'm sure Karen Agnifilo was looking at this case thinking that she's going to be dealing with the arraignment on the indictment in state court. And then all of a sudden, you hear about this federal indictment being dropped. She's meeting with her client, I would imagine, and they're having a totally different conversation because now he's facing these federal charges. And of course, unlike the New York State case, Mangione could face the death penalty with these federal charges.
Interesting. Agnifilo, no stranger to the Manhattan courtroom, as she has been there for years. So strategy for her, maybe going forward?
Assessing both cases, looking at this federal case with a more keen eye, I would say, or an eye with more urgency, because the federal case is likely going to be outpacing the state case. But you're now going to have considerations from discovery issues to filing motions to attack the evidence on both the state case and the federal case, if Alvin Bragg is correct in his statement that both will proceed on parallel tracks.
You know, I want to say something, Ed, which was interesting, is that nobody today, none of the talking heads talked about what her plan, his defense attorney, was. She made it loud and clear that if she had this case, she would go after the not guilty by reason of insanity, and nobody brought that up. Did you notice that?
Yes, and that's her specialty. And that's when she was a talking head on CNN. And now no one's talking about it right now. But it's interesting, you know, these takes from these lawyers and so forth, former prosecutors that are being brought in and defense attorneys and whatnot on TV. What's interesting about it is they don't give you the full history here. Okay, because there are many cases where you have parallel investigations done by the state and the feds. Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols, Oklahoma City bombing. Okay, you know, and then what ends up happening is you'll have these parallel investigations, you'll have these parallel indictments. Okay, and then the prosecutors at the feds and the state, they get together and decide which one is going to take what. Right, like the Beltway snipers. So the Beltway snipers were charged in Virginia on the state level, okay? Because the state level had the death penalty, which the feds didn't have the death penalty for this. They weren't charging them with a death penalty offense. So the feds deferred to the state and let the state run with the prosecution on that one, okay? And the main character in that one was, in fact, put to death, right? Mm-hmm. And then same thing with Terry Nichols. Now, Terry Nichols would be put to death for the Oklahoma City bombing. Yeah, so they're going to work this all out. Yeah, you're going to have your parallel investigations. You're going to have your parallel indictments and charges. And then the prosecutors will get together and determine who's going to do what.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's the thing, is they're going to work it out. And, you know, as far as Luigi Mangione goes, you know, he is going to be relying on his high-powered defense team, right? It's not going to just be Karen that's defending him. There's going to be a whole team. So at the end of this all, the dust has to settle and something has to give here, because I personally don't think that these things are going to run parallel and Alvin Bragg is still going to have his way. He's sitting in a federal lockup where P. Diddy is right now, Luigi. He's not on Rikers Island, where we all, up until 3:00 this afternoon, we were all under the impression that he was going to go to Manhattan Supreme Court and he was going to get arraigned on the indictment, on the charges. He was going to get fingerprinted, gone through central booking, and then shipped out to Rikers Island. But that's not what happened. The feds threw that curveball. His own defense attorney said she had no idea, and she came walking into federal court over on Pearl on crutches. I don't know if anybody saw that, but let us know in the chat if you guys saw that. She came in on crutches. She was with her husband and maybe one other attorney, and there was there was dogs outside. They had the whole package. And let me just say this, and for those of you in the chat, how many of you in the chat thought it was like an unbelievable amount of manpower to transport Luigi Mangione? Now, I could say, from somebody that's looking from the outside and not have any law enforcement experience, you would think, you're like, wow, that's a lot of manpower. But the NYPD has up to 40,000 members. I don't know what the current standing is right now, but it's somewhere in between 30 and 40, right, Ed?
Yes, so it's down by 30.
For us to send 12 to 15 detectives to Pennsylvania, which again, I said they were embedded there. I knew it. They were all staying there. For the NYPD to send 12 to 15 detectives, it's like a department just sending one, like a small department sending one of two people, like their personnel. It's not like we're depleting the whole department. But when you see the guys with the long guns, that was ESU there, right? That was the A team, the counter sniper guys, or whatever the case may be. It just looked like a lot. And you saw the Joint Terrorist Task Force from the FBI there. We're going to play a little bit of that. Ed, I want you to just talk a little bit about that package that they sent.
Yeah, I don't think it's over the top, though, given the amount of hero status that this guy has been getting, and the fact that people are actually out there protesting Free Luigi. Okay. There's something that's going on here, some kind of movement. He's some kind of group, because more of his writings have been released today. And it just gives you more insight to, he had a checklist, and he said, okay, this guy hits all of the checklists for whatever his cause was. Okay. So that's when he targeted this CEO and that healthcare industry. Now, mind you, he had no issue with this healthcare company or the CEO. He didn't know them. He wasn't a member of that insurance plan. His family's never been. His family's multimillionaires, and trust me, they have no issue getting proper medical care. Okay, they get the best of the best. His sister is a renowned doctor. Okay, so this kid was radicalized into a cause, and his cause was anti-capitalism, anti-healthcare insurance. Okay. And the investigation is going to dig deeper and see who his associates are. Who is he talking to? Who is he texting with? Who did he radicalize with? Right. Just like now, we're finding out about this 15-year-old girl who did the school shooting. She was in contact with a guy in California, a 20-year-old who, and they were both plotting to do school shootings. Yeah. And he was plotting to do a government building and use explosives. Okay. So again, it comes down to us as parents, as who are our children talking to? What are they doing on the internet? Who are they hanging out with? Okay.
When you look at Luigi Mangione, again, this detail, and I didn't get a chance to say it before you started going into it. You have to look at it from a prisoner safety standpoint as well. Okay, as much as he has the fanfare and everybody that's on his side in the Free Luigi movement, there are other people who might not feel the same way about him. And therefore, he could also, we don't know, unbeknownst to us, there could have been calls in for, hey, we're going to take this guy out. We're going to snipe him. We're going to do whatever. So the NYPD, they had to look at all angles from this thing. It wasn't just about shock and awe and showing off and, the helicopters, the airplane, the fixed wing aircraft, which coincidentally, the aircraft had a New York numbering to it. So it might have been a New York State aircraft.
It's ours.
Yeah. So there you go. It wasn't a Pennsylvania. It wasn't anybody, it wasn't from the feds. It was a New York aircraft. I'm talking about the fixed wing Cessna.
See, many people don't know this, but the NYPD aviation unit has 2 fixed wing aircraft, multiple helicopters, and we have a lighter than air aircraft as well. Okay. So a lot of this stuff was given to us after 9/11 with Homeland Security grants, and they contain all kinds of specialized equipment to do special missions and so forth. One of the planes,
the fixed wing aircraft that the NYPD has from like Homeland Security, what would they use that for in a big city like this? Or
they've been tasked by Homeland Security to fly out 25 miles out into the ocean and scan all incoming freighters and vessels coming into New York Harbor for the presence of weapons of mass destruction, specifically radiological materials and so forth.
Wow.
And this is open source, folks. I'm not giving away any trade secrets here. There have been numerous news articles about it. And in fact, there was a little controversy with the aviation unit and a pattern they flew on one of these missions now, because they're complaining that we're going 25 miles out into the ocean with a single engine airplane. Okay. So if they lose the engine at 25 miles out, they're going to go into the drink. Okay. So they were complaining about that, and it was a little pushback. And so they flew this pattern. You can look this up, Google it. They flew this pattern. And when you look at the pattern on the radar screen, some people say it was pornographic.
It wasn't copacetic.
No, and it was, done in defiance of their leadership, making them do these missions. And additionally, there was controversy with these planes as well, because under Mayor de Blasio, he was flying his family up to Canada on vacations with the NYPD plane.
That's for another live stream. Let's listen into Linda Schmidt, Fox 5. This was from downtown Manhattan tonight. This is her reporting, and then we're going to bring John on because he's ready to go.
And he is facing 4 federal charges right now. Now, when he walked into the court today, he was very calm. He was wearing a pair of khaki pants, a white collared shirt, and what appeared to be a dark blue sweater. He nodded his head yes several times when the judge was talking to him, to acknowledge that he was listening to her and that he was understanding her. And then at one point, he turned around to see who was sitting in the courtroom, and he appeared to be looking for a familiar face. From the look on his face, it did not appear as though he saw anybody that he knew. Now, when Mangione arrived in New York this afternoon, he was wearing an orange jumpsuit, a far cry from what he had on in court today. His wrists were handcuffed. He had shackles on his ankles, and
that's a New York City travel belt, and what it is a leather belt that goes around your waist, and in the front it's got the handcuffs, and we used it when we did these trips, and we put prisoners on airplanes. You shackle them at the feet, you cuff them in the front, and that's what he was wearing. And then, in addition to the jumpsuit, people were asking what was he wearing. He was wearing the same kind of orange prison slide-on slippers, or whatever you want to call them, slide-on shoes, and that was what he left the Pennsylvania DOC, the Department of Corrections, with.
he was surrounded by heavily armed law enforcement officers and agents. The federal charges filed by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District include murder, traveling across state lines with a gun and a silencer to stalk and assassinate UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson, and using his cell phone, internet wires, and the internet to commit the murder. Mangione answered yes to several questions from the judge, including if he understood his rights and if he understands what he is accused of. Now, his attorney, Karen Friedman Agnifilo, and her husband, Mark, represented him in court today. Now, for some, he has become a cult hero for killing an insurance executive. He is being held without bail, and his lawyer made a brief statement after the proceeding today.
We're going to respectfully decline to make any comment at this time. Mr. Mangione appreciates everyone's support.
That's his attorney, and she said, we're going to respectfully decline making any comment. And Luigi Mangione thanks everybody for your support. And this is P. Diddy's attorney right here, Mark. He's holding the actual, that brown paper bag in his right hand here. But that's the statement when they came out of court. That was around 4 o'clock this afternoon, Eastern time.
Thank you so much.
Mangione is also facing murder charges in an 11-count indictment from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Both of those cases will be pursued simultaneously.
I'll let the Southern District for New York speak for itself about their plans, but I do want to note that speaking generally, we've had state prosecutions and federal prosecutions proceed as parallel matters, and we're in conversations with our law enforcement counterparts.
Ed, did you see what looked like a vest underneath that jumpsuit? It didn't look like it to me.
It looked like a brown T-shirt. No, I didn't see anything that resembled any of the vests that they're normally worn.
Yeah, he was definitely not wearing a bulletproof vest. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
And as of this moment here, Mangione is being held in a federal prison, the only federal prison in the 5 boroughs. That is in Brooklyn. By the way, it happens to be the same federal prison where Sean Diddy Combs is being held. And also, this is a very interesting point here, too. Combs' lawyer is married to Mangione's lawyer. And he was in court today with Karen Agnifilo. Her husband was in court with him, with her. Now,
I wonder if Mark Agnifilo is going to be attorney on record for Luigi Mangione. That would be interesting to see, although not a conflict of interest. Again, attorneys can represent multiple clients for multiple cases. But what a coincidence that the two of them, he's in court with her and he's holding Mangione's property, that property bag. Interesting turn of events.
His day, Mangione, it started very early today with court proceedings in Pennsylvania. My colleague Michelle Ross was there and has that part of the story.
Luigi Mangione makes his way into a black SUV outside the Blair County Courthouse with the help of over a dozen NYPD personnel who immediately flew him back to New York City. Mangione waived extradition in Blair County Court.
Everything we did today was in his best interest. We're ready now to defend, move forward and start defending these charges in New York and Pennsylvania.
Mangione appeared relaxed and calm in the courtroom, a stark contrast to his prior appearance last week when he was restless in his seat. The clean-shaven 26-year-old seemed to be in good spirits, despite being accused of murder, smiling and laughing while chatting with his Pennsylvania defense attorney, Thomas Dickey. Outside, people wore Luigi hats, the character from the Super Mario Brothers. Ashlyn Adami was one of them, who traveled here from Indiana and says she's in support of universal health care after her private health insurance denied breast reduction surgery deemed medically necessary by her doctor.
Never will. I never have. I recognize that, and we make a change.
Says his office does not plan on dropping Mangione's Pennsylvania charges.
We intend to keep our case active. And we intend to essentially revisit the case when the defendant is available.
Which will be never. Ed, this has gone far enough. It's just interesting to see the different aspects. Now, look, the district attorney in Pennsylvania has the right to hold on to those charges, which is they're not shabby charges. The criminal possession of a weapon, criminal possession of forged instrument, those are serious charges. But he's got bigger fish to fry back here in New York, and he's probably never going to go back over to Pennsylvania. And what they'll do with that is they'll just expunge those charges or just add them on. Or try to somehow, clear those charges out. I'm not really sure what they will do. I don't think that it would even be after he's done here, depending on the outcome, that it would even be beneficial for them to go forward with it. But we'll see. That's to see at a later date. But let's talk about his care and custody. Now he's in a federal lockup, which by some people's accounts, and P. Diddy, they've been covering this quite a bit, and we never really delved into the P. Diddy case. It's quite a grotesque sexual, twists and turns of many victims, and it's horrible. But because of the high-profile case of P. Diddy, they've been talking about this federal lockup, and some call it hell on earth. And our guest, who I had the privilege of seeing probably John, when he comes on, he'll tell you at least 3 or 4 times a week. I would visit him over in Rikers Island because I would be dropping off people who I would be picking up from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and I'd be bringing them back to New York and lodging them with the felony warrants in Rikers Island, in the barge in the Bronx. That happens to be where he was working towards the end of my career. But without further ado, I want to introduce retired New York City Department of Corrections officer, my good friend John. John, thanks for being patient with us and hanging out.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you so much. Good to see you again. Good to see you.
Welcome, John.
Thank you.
Hey, John, I wanted you to introduce yourself to the audience and tell them about some of your correction experience on Rikers Island and so forth, and what you did during your career. So I'll let you have the floor.
Oh, thank you very much. John Perugini. I did 20 plus years with the New York City Department of Corrections. My job duties were, in the beginning, working in the housing areas with the inmates. I did high maximum security. From that point in time, I also did a lot of work in the intake area where I was a good chance to meet Ron in the early days. And you book the people in, you're taking care of fingerprints and all that good stuff. I worked in the gangs, interviewing gang members, when they were coming into the facility, trying to identify possible gang members and stuff like that. So it was a good career, a lot of good times, a lot of crazy times, but I have a total knowledge of the intake process, getting guys in, property taking, arraignments, getting their warrants and everything in order. So that's kind of what I was doing most of my time.
You know, John, and every time I was in I'd come into the New York City corrections facilities, whether it was at the barge in the Bronx, that was the boat, the floating boat. Those people, a lot of people from out of town don't know that New York City had different parts of their corrections system in all the different boroughs. There was two in the Bronx. They had you had Rikers Island and Queens. All the boroughs had their
they had their own facilities, each one.
Right. So you had the opportunity to work on Rikers Island, and they're comparing Rikers Island to this federal lockup in Brooklyn, the MDC, as hell on earth. And I know you've been in there several times. You've been in and out of there doing transfers with prisoners.
Yes.
Why do we got hell on earth? Is this a problem with staffing? Is this a problem?
It's a combination. It's a combination of staffing problems. It's a combination of the inmates that you have. There's a loose, unfortunately, at times the inmates are very much free in a sense. Their rights are much more important to people. So they're getting so much more. Uses of force are up. Officers have their hands tied. They're constantly changing use of force policy. So I had a use of force policy. It was amended in my career. And right before I walked out the door, the feds took over the use of force policy and it was all changed again. So what is happening is you're having inmates that are coming through that are more violent, or more, intelligence wise is increased. The psychological game is totally increased. So you're finding yourself sometimes at a loss, or you have to just really have your head on the swivel because they're going to try and play you, and then you have whatever happens. But it's tough. I've made a few, like you said, I've made a few deposits to the Brooklyn facility, and it's rough. It's an old facility, dirty at times, short of staff. It's rough, and it's.
I'm gonna play a little piece from. I think this is Inside Edition, but it's interesting because this is it looks like a nice building from the outside, but when you get inside here, it is dilapidated. And it's overcrowded. It's a facility that was only supposed to house 1,000 in the beginning inmates. As of, I think, 2023 or 2022, they had over 1,900 inmates in this location. But we're going to talk about Luigi Mangione because he and P. Diddy, they're going to be in segregated housing, right, John?
Yes, that's what's going to end up happening. They are either in what they call protective custody or enhanced security. Enhanced security and or protective custody is pretty much 23-hour lockdown. You have chance for your recreation. Your food services will be brought to you. In some facilities, the inmates are brought to a mess hall to have their meals. Some parts of the facility, the inmates get the meals brought to them. They're in a dorm setting, so you have 50 to 100 beds in one big open dorm, and they all eat together communally. But where these guys are, it's super low census. In the housing area, they might only have 5 people, but you're going to have a one-on-one. There's going to be officers there. Officers are wearing body cameras. On top of that, there's usually a camera facing the cell and or the whole entire tier. And everything is being recorded 24/7. So
John, look at what Lisa says from the live chat. She says, I was hoping they have roomies. That would be an opportunity for some trouble to happen. This is what I have from that facility. 6 a.m. is wake up. They're required. This is protective custody, and this is pertaining to Luigi Mangione. This is going to his life going forward. 6 a.m. wake up, mandatory cell clean. I'm not sure what that means. Does that mean the inmate cleans the cell or the
100%? They call it GI. That's your general cleaning.
Okay. And then they have the dimensions of the cells in protective custody, Ed and John, it's 6x8.
Yep.
So it's it's a teeny little cell. Rec time is limited to library and phones with attorney and family calls only. No calls from fangirls or people who just want to talk to them. Let's take a listen to this. This is going to be an inside edition. Of course, this is geared around P. Diddy, but I fast forwarded the P. Diddy part so we could just see the inside of the facility.
At a facility that is being called hell on earth. The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn is notorious for its appalling living conditions and rampant violence. How bad is it inside this federal lockup? There have been 2 murders, 4 suicides, and numerous stabbings and lockdowns in recent years. It's so out of control inside that 4 federal judges are reportedly refusing to send any more prisoners here. Donald Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen, spent a harrowing year in federal custody.
Holy shit, I forgot. He did. He spent time there. Let's see. I didn't watch this because I've had to put this together quickly. Let's see if he gets interviewed, but this is interesting.
He says for someone used to a life of luxury like Diddy, prison life is a severe shock.
You have a desk, you have a plastic chair, you have your bed with a 1.5-inch mattress, no pillow, and you also have a locker. So you basically have 3 feet by 5 feet to move around. So you have a basic 15 square feet. It is a horrible, horrible place.
Diddy's lawyers were so eager to keep him out of jail.
This is Mark. This is P. Diddy's lawyer. He was in court today. He may be giving his wife advice because he's an experienced federal criminal defense attorney.
They offered his palatial $48 million home. So eager to keep him out of jail, they offered his palatial $48 million home in Miami Beach and his private jets as bail. Today, they are even offering to restrict female visitors to his homes. And 2 is dreadful, dirty, inhuman.
Yeah, there's a look at one of the. I mean, this is
that's what it looks like.
This is John. This is probably one of the nicer ones.
Yeah, yeah,
right.
That it is.
In an ongoing tragedy.
How's your dad doing? How's your dad?
It's dreadful. Judge, the jail he was being sent to is dreadful, dirty, inhuman, and an ongoing tragedy.
Damn. So yeah, I'm not going to play the rest of it because the rest of this is just vanity. John, quickly, I mean, as we know this, and Ed, if you have any questions, jump in at any time. As we know, he's high profile. The object of correction officers, right, behind the wall. It's not easy, but the main objective is to keep these folks who are facing, most of them there are facing a trial.
Yes.
That they're waiting there for all of these steps to happen, all of these different hearings, and before a trial commences, could be 6, 7, 9 months, 10 months. The idea, the game plan for corrections and the executives inside these facilities is care and custody and safety.
Yes. That's our motto: care, custody, and control. And the officers behind the wall, they try their hardest. Again, it falls back to the inmates themselves, the aggressive nature now, the intelligence that's increased for some inmates that really can psychologically get in the back of your head somewhere. And unfortunately, you do have a super increased amount of mental health issue. And that is something that even with the most training, it's on a snap. Everything could be fine in a housing area. I worked mental observation housing in Rikers Island in GMDC, the 3 building, and gentleman was fine the whole day, getting ready to do our count procedure, and it went from hello to wanting to rip another inmate's head off. So you have all these things that you're contending with. So I know that the officers are trying to do it. It's a complicated job.
Yeah.
So a little bit about the background of this place, right? I used to drive past it all the time when I was in college, back in the 80s, and even as a rookie cop in the 80s, I would pass it as well. So it used to be a warehouse at the Bush Army Terminal. Okay. Yes. And then they took 1/3 of the structure of the warehouse and turned it into a 500-bed dormitory prison. Then they did a controlled explosion on the other 2/3 portion of the facility, took it to the ground, and rebuilt a 1,000-bed prison on the 2/3 side. So it allegedly houses 1,500 prisoners.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. And so, there's an elevated highway there.
The BQE is right on the side.
BQE, yeah, it leads you to the Gowanus from the Verrazano Bridge in Brooklyn and to the Brooklyn Tunnel, which they now call the UCarry Tunnel, which I will never call Brooklyn Tunnel. Okay. They didn't ask my permission to change the name. Not that they needed it, but they didn't ask anybody. They just changed the name.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we paid for it, but they changed the name. So you pass this all the time if you're driving on the elevated highway there, and you just look over to your left or your right, depending on which direction you're going, and you see it. It sticks out like a sore thumb, and then it has the big federal penitentiary logo on it.
Yeah, it's an interesting facility. When you see it from the outside, of course, I've been inside it many times.
Yeah, myself
you see
too.
From the outside, you're like, oh, this doesn't look like a bad place. But as soon as you get inside there, you can tell. Like, I've been to some of the upstate state facilities. Like, I've been to Attica. I've been to, all of these really older prisons. And when you get in there, they're dilapidated. It is nasty. And I every time I would go to a state correction facility to pick up somebody, I would always see New York City Department of Correction buses there all the time. I'd see your guys' buses there. But this shows us a little bit more of the inside of this facility. There's some graphic parts that are on here, some inmates fighting. I'm going to kind of try to skip over those, but as it starts showing it, you could get it in a look at the inside of this. So I'm going to show this quickly, but I'm going to have to scan through some of it because some of it is a little bit violent.
Yasmin Youssian has more.
From his $48 million Miami mansion to hell on earth where chaos reigns. Just some of the words used to describe the Metropolitan Detention Center where Sean Diddy Combs is now being held without bail after pleading not guilty to sex trafficking and racketeering charges. Inmate to pass through these walls. The first high-profile inmate to pass through these walls. Ghislaine Maxwell, R. Kelly, Pharma Bro, Martin Shkreli, and crypto fraudster Sam Bankman-Fried, all as they waited for their federal.
What a motley crew, right?
Yeah, what a list of characters.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But these are some of those more high-profile cases. R. Kelly, add P. Diddy, and now we can add. I wish I had an editor to just pop in Luigi's face here. Diddy's. We could just add them right at the top, right here.
Just to answer, Jeffrey Epstein wasn't here. He was in the Manhattan facility down by Federal Plaza.
Yeah, he was in Manhattan itself. Yeah,
which is now closed, right, John?
That one is closed, and then you have Harvey Weinstein, who is actually on Rikers Island. So when this happened to this kid, I was kind of shocked because Harvey Weinstein is sitting in Rikers Island. So it's a little crazy.
Yeah, multimillionaire.
Yeah, exactly.
But we were all expecting, and he's got a $5 million lawsuit against the Department of Corrections because of the inhumane conditions that this sexual predator is claiming. But again, if it's good enough for Harvey, it should be good enough for Luigi. But that's not how the cookie crumbled today.
No. Not today.
Hey, a lot of people in the chat are sending out corrections respect. Let me just say this.
Thank you.
John, I want to say this. I have, and you and I are on a professional level. We're friends now. But anytime I would go to not just Rikers, your facility, anytime I would go to any of the correction facilities, no matter what state it was in, I got to see how hard the men and women behind the wall work. So I have the utmost respect because it's a tough job that not all people are cut out to do because you are living inside your whole tour, whether it's 12 hours, 8 hours, your whole shift. You are inside with the people that we take off the street, the worst of the worst, and you have to be in there for every second of their existence inside there.
Thank you. Yes, as you know, because we saw each other frequently, it was an easy time in the sense that you could come in for your 8 hours and that phone would ring and you realize you were going to be in the facility for 18 hours. And you pretty much can do a 20, 25-year career and have spent more time in jail than some inmates do.
Yeah.
And it's a little crazy. And as you can remember, we would have a line of officers coming in, whether it's the marshals, yourself from PD, another, county dropping somebody up. And you remember the alarm would ring, and we were all the first responders.
Yep.
So I'd be like, Ron, I'll be right back. I would suit up and then take off on the wagon to go respond to a fight or some kind of assault or whatever.
Yeah.
And then 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later, we'd come back, and you take your helmet off, you take your vest off, and it's like, okay, Ron, where did we leave off?
Exactly. And correct me if I'm wrong, John. I always had my paperwork right.
Oh, next to my nephew, are also another retired NYPD detective, first grade, Chris Flood, came out of the 4-7 squad. You and he were the best two. You had your paperwork proper, and we always tried to get you in and out as fast as we could. Try to slide you by some other people. They didn't always like that, but
Total gentleman. You
membership has its privileges.
I think your nephew's in the chat.
Oh, is it? Did he come on?
Yeah.
What's
he gave you a shout out.
What's his name?
Chris Flood.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna scan for it. Ed, if you see it, highlight it.
All
Chris,
right, I'll go get him.
My brother from another mother. Welcome. And
That's
listen.
right. My fellow first grade detective.
Yeah, he's part of that club. He's part of the elite squad.
See?
There he is. We got to get Chris on one day.
He's good. You love him. He had a good career, really good career.
Let me play the rest of this. I'm going to have to skip over this because it's an inmate that knifes somebody 44 times on camera.
Lovely.
Criminal trials called this jail home. But the conditions of the prison are far from homey, notoriously described as, quote, dreadful, as one judge put it. Some on the bench have even moved away from sending nonviolent defendants there. In April, a group of detainees that prosecutors said were inmates have died by suicide. 3 years alone, them here, the survived. And in the last 3 years alone, 4 inmates have died by suicide. And violence is not the only issue. Accusations of medical neglect, staffing shortages, smuggling of drugs, some allegedly facilitated by employees. At least 6 staff members charged with crimes in the last 5 years, according to the AP. Some accused of accepting bribes and providing contraband.
I just want to tell the crowd something that I got to see off camera. As this piece was playing about the corruption from within, John's head was shaking. And he's going to tell you, and I know this for a fact, the good, hardworking men and women of corrections, they despise people that do this. And unfortunately, there are bad apples in every profession. John?
100%. It's sad to say that, unfortunately, in my 20 plus years, 2 or 3 people that I worked with ended up falling prey to that. I don't get it. I never had that inkling to want to put myself on the line. It's just not in my moral fiber. I have too much respect for myself. I have respect for my wife and my son. But some people, I guess, you can't step away from something that you might think is very appetizing, but it puts the wrong message out. It makes us look soft and weak. It puts a bad turn on the department and on the officers.
Makes your job it makes your job.
Oh, terrible.
Because now everybody thinks that you're on the take or that you're going to do something. And we experience it out in the field as well. Ed, I'm sure you heard that many times. Oh, what are you going to do? Rob me? Whatever. Stuff like that. Let's let the rest of this play because they show the inside of the facility. I just wanted to say that because a lot of people didn't get to see your reaction to it. I wish we were all on camera.
It hurt you because I took a lot of pride in my job. I was always proud to say I was the New York City correction officer. I loved my job. And
I can definitely tell when I come and see you,
Yeah.
I tell you what, though, when I went into those facilities, I was not comfortable at all. I'm saying, I had to give my gun up and go in and process a crime scene and with all these perps and many of which I had. In fact, the one case that I went to, Angel Diaz hung himself in Rikers and with his Timberland belt. And I did his crime scene. And when I got there and found him hanging in his cell, my crime scene photos were spread out all over his bed.
Oh, man.
He had the whole crime scene report. And, his case was, he was convicted. I testified against him. He was convicted.
Can I stop you just for a second? Angel Diaz was the one who killed Kevin Gillespie. I took the phone call from the corrections captain the night that he hung himself. And unbeknownst to me, because I didn't know you at the time, I mean, when I got promoted to detective, I have his shield number, 4503. It's right here. This is what I carried my whole career. When I came in to see you, John, it was police officer Kevin Gillespie's white shield on my detective shield. It was his wife, his widow, said, take that number. I'm going to write a letter to the police commissioner. You take that number, Ron, and Kevin's going to watch over you for the rest of your career. I felt a little weird about taking it, but she wanted me to have it, and I took it. And now his nephew has the shield, is active detective now. But Ed, it's just chilling. And I'm sorry that I stopped you during that conversation, but I actually took that phone call, the notification from the Department of Corrections, the night that Angel Diaz hung himself in his prison, in his jail cell at Rikers. And you processed the scene.
Wow. I processed both scenes.
Yeah, you processed the crime scene.
Full circle.
Where my partner was shot and killed, and you went full circle right to the facility.
Wow.
I'm in the hair on my arms.
Yeah, as I said, it's kind of chilling. Yeah.
Let's let the rest of this play.
At least 6 staff members charged with crimes in the last 5 years, according to the AP. Some accused of accepting bribes and providing contraband.
I've had clients describe MDC as hell, as the worst conditions they've been in.
Lance A. Clark is a federal defense attorney who's been there many times.
Now, if the government is going to mandate that they are responsible for your well-being, they have to ensure the safety of your well-being.
In the winter of 2019, protests over a power outage left inmates without light or heat for a week in the cold.
I understand how cold. They had no heat, no power in this building. Yeah, I remember. That was 5 years ago.
It must be in those cells, and not to have any electricity, any lights, and to not be able to communicate with your family is just inhumane.
The prison has about 1,200 detainees and is the only federal prison in the nation's largest city. The DOJ shut down New York City's other federal jail, the Metropolitan Correctional Center, back in 2021, 2 years after Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide there. A Bureau of Prisons spokesman telling NBC News they, quote, take seriously.
See, that was false. Epstein was not there. So that's just
no. Bad. They showed the building where Epstein was, and
yeah, they showed the one in Manhattan.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, okay, yeah, I see it there now. My bad.
Addressing the staffing and other challenges at MDC Brooklyn, adding the director appointed an urgent action team, and they've increased staffing.
MDC has historically had tremendous problems, and the problems aren't resolved.
Combs. His lawyers originally hoping he could await trial under house arrest at his mansion, now arguing for him to be moved to a prison in New Jersey.
That didn't work out. He wanted him to go to Essex, New Jersey. Yeah. Interesting stuff. Listen, as we know it, John and Ed, Luigi Mangione is going to be in protective custody. He's not going to be around other inmates. He is going to be, and as far as I know, I have another piece, but we're running out of time. When they go out for rec time here at the MDC, they're in cages. Yes. They're not walking. I got to find that piece.
And it's individual too. They try not to have them together. You're in a.
It's like a dog kennel, like
yeah,
like that. But that's what it looks like. So when they get their outside rec time, they're in these. Oh man, I think I have it right here. Yeah, I'm going to just glance through this. Hashtag Ed, hashtag John, hashtag Dutyron in the chat. Let's go to the chat and pick out some of the questions. I'm going to highlight some of the new members. Thank you, Eileen, for becoming a member. Sandy, thank you for becoming a member. Michael Joseph Murray, a member for over 14 months. Thank you, Michael. Jeff, thank you for the $2. Ed Wallace called it again. Federal charges.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff, thanks for the sausage. I had it.
Oh, you had some today?
Yeah.
Nice. He sent us a sausage from Wyoming.
Wow.
So it was great stuff. And
don't forget the bourbon.
The bourbon. Oh, yeah. I didn't want to talk about it because I'm not a big drinker, but I definitely will indulge over the summer with the bourbon. Eileen, thank you for gifting a membership. And Denise, thank you so much for being here. Denise Miller, appreciate you for becoming a member. Willing to grow. Thank you for willing to grow with us. Leah says, I believe Attorney Friedman Agnefello had knee replacement surgery. Ouch. Approximately 2 weeks ago. Hence the crutches. Thank you for that, Leah. Erin, thank you for being a member for 1 month. I just want to say how much I appreciate Dutyron and Ed coverage of this and other cases. Thank you for the love and support. We appreciate that. Thank you, Erin.
Ditto.
Leah, serious question here. In Luigi's alleged manifesto, he alludes to not wanting to use a bomb. Doesn't that exclude the terror charge? Ed, I'll let you take that.
No, it doesn't exclude the terror charge, but what it does give you is consciousness of thought. So it destroys the insanity defense.
There you go.
So he knows right from wrong.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And Leah comes in again with the 10. So that's 5 and then 10. Thank you for the 15. Maybe some of the money donated to Luigi could go to reform. I'm all for that. For the officers, of course, and the accused as well. Majored in interpersonal and organizational communication from LE family too. Thank you. Thank you to your family and thank you for the support. And those are fantastic ideas. We would be all for it. Cat H, thank you for being a member for, oh my goodness, over 43 months. Wow. Appreciate these good guys. Well, we appreciate you.
Ditto. Thank you.
Dawn Marie, a moderator, a great friend, love and respect. Dutyron, Ed, and John, great coverage. Yeah, and if you think this is great, we have amazing Aunt who's going to join us for a 5-minute brief. I promised her that she could come on because she's got a lot to say. But did you guys see anything in the chat as it pertains to questions or anything like that? I'm going to scan to see if I got this.
Not really.
No questions, Ed?
No, nothing that jumped out except for, a couple things I posted, but no.
All right.
Just back and forth between each other.
I have a question, though. When he was pulled into Pennsylvania, and because you bring up the fact about the normal approach the lawyer would take is having mental health issue, was he evaluated when he was in Pennsylvania? Do we know if he had an evaluation done then?
Well, you tell us a common practice when you put into prisons, aren't you?
I do. Yes.
Yeah.
The officers have a sheet. It's we used to call it the 730 sheet, and you would have 100 questions. Like, do you want to hurt yourself? Do you suffer from this? Do you suffer from that? Have you ever tried? But that's a standard form for us. Sometimes the lawyers and/or the judge may say an official court document that he must be seen. That there are two differences. There's a standard one the department uses that gets put in the file, but then you have ones that the lawyer and the judge, it's court ordered. It's a more pertinent standing.
And you need to get his medical condition, know what drugs he's taking, and if he's an abuser of drugs and so forth and so on, because now he needs treatment.
Correct. Yeah.
Brandy Churchwell, 13th juror. She's got a great channel. She covers the Karen Reed case and many others. Brandy, thank you for the super sticker and thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys. If you haven't checked out her channel, she does great coverage along with many others who are covering the Karen Reed case. Yeah, so let me share the link with Amazing Aunt so she can jump on with us real quick. But, I got to say, this case is just so, there's so many different moving parts to it. But what really stands out to me is the vitriol that is being spewed. And listen, I'm all for reform. I just highlighted a super chat, someone who talked about reform. But I have to play one of our good friends who has joined us here on this channel. And she's a talking head, a retired FBI agent, special agent, Tracy Waldner. He is now fallen victim to death threats behind talking about this case. Somebody showed up at her daughter's school. This is frightening. And I don't think a lot of people caught this, but I did. I caught this. This was just today on News Nation. So let's listen to this because it's shocking, to say the least, that a retired FBI agent is getting death threats just by talking about this case.
The awful, awful precedents that is what I have said. So and I'm not necessarily against that people. But the reality is you cannot engage in vigilante justice. And I do think it's part of where these terrorism charges come from, that he is being, charged with. And I'm not necessarily against that. Just to give you a personal anecdote, Conal, I've been on your show about this for the past, week or so. I have never received more death threats in my life than I have because of what I have said about Luigi Mangione. That is the
on social media, you mean, and stuff like that?
Showing up at my daughter's school because of this. And that is fascinating to me and is really showing the level of rhetoric and the awful, awful precedents that this sets.
Someone actually showed up at your daughter's school. My God. Thanks.
So
crazy. It's just crazy. Wow. And I understand there are reports that the McDonald's was given, the McDonald's employees were given threatening
they have
with threats online and so forth.
They have two armed security guards at that McDonald's.
Wow.
I have a report on that as well.
And then wonder why it's terrorism is people have lost their minds, man. I mean, because even on here, we try to, intellectually discuss these issues, right? And then, you can disagree with me all you want, but if you're going to come at me with a disagreement, don't use emotion. Give me facts. Give me an understanding of what you're trying to tell me, right? Don't just attack me personally, okay? And because that dog don't hunt.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. And and we get it. We get it. We get a lot of, attacks on what our take is. And I always say, we're going to agree to disagree a lot. A lot of times you're going to hear things that Ed and I talk about. And sometimes you and I disagree on stuff, Ed. So it's not like it's just our way or the highway. But
right, and I still love you.
Yeah, exactly. We break bread. We hang out. But what I'm saying is that if you disagree with something that we're talking about, come at us with what your side of the story is and why you feel we're wrong and you're right, or just tell us your side and we might say, hey, we respect your position, but we respectfully disagree, or maybe we're wrong. I just shared the link with Amazing Ant. I'd like to just get her in just for a couple of minutes. John, you got time?
Yeah, sure.
All right, I love it. Thank you for the super sticker, Retta. Much appreciated. And Jennifer Nobles is here. A lot of great people, a lot of good friends. And I want to just say thank you to the replay viewers. I have to mention the replay viewers because you guys and the live chatters are the heartbeat of this channel. Without you guys, we have nothing. We're approaching 395,000 subscribers. We're almost at 400,000 subscribers. So I want to thank you guys all. Ed and I are we're so appreciative of you guys. And as
listen. Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we got a special announcement to make to one of your pizza-loving eating friends, Schmitty. It's a birthday. We got to say happy birthday to Schmitty.
Holy Schmitty smacks! Happy birthday, Schmitty! Many, many more healthy and happy ones. It was just about a year ago that we met. She was here for her birthday celebration, and I took her to Umberto's. I picked her up at the train. She got in the car with me. She got in my car and she's like, "Do you do this often?" I go, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Meet your fans." I go, if they want to meet me, I'm going to meet them. I can't meet everybody. But she was like, "Oh, okay. I'm not a serial killer. You're going to be safe with me."
Yeah. So Smitty, the next time you're in New York, I'll make up for that pizza that Ron got you.
Oh, cut it out. Wow. Yeah. Hold on a second. Where is it?
Stop breathing down my neck.
Say good night to the bad guy.
Stop breathing down my neck.
I like that.
Say good night to the bad guy.
Yeah, say good night to a bad guy.
Just the thumbs up, and we'll add Amazing Ant to the conversation. Give me the thumbs up, Ant.
Amazing. I'm sorry, Amazing Ant.
Guess what? Amazing Ant. John was at the barge. John was at the barge, and I used to see him at least 3 or 4 times a week. Right, John?
Correct.
She worked in Fugitive with me, and she used to kind of dispatch some of our jobs and some of our. No.
We would deal with Rikers. We would deal with everyone.
So
Just
amazing. I want to throw you right into the. I want to throw.
Wait, Ed's throwing me under the bus. Let him get it out the way.
No, I'm not
first.
throwing you under the bus. Is that like a aluminum Christmas tree in the background?
No, you know what's funny?
Is that like the 60s just surfaced again?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I had to take off my Santa hat. I was playing Santa today. Real quick. Someone in the chat asked that last time, I think.
Yeah.
I grew up in Puerto Rico and we had an aluminum tree.
Yeah, I remember seeing them in 60s.
Wait. I was 70s, but I'll send it to Dutyron. He could post it of me in front of an aluminum tree. But listen, that tree is pre-lit and it has the snow. You know, the fake snow?
Oh, I got you.
It was like a clearance from Kohl's, but my mom said the same thing. It looks like it's on fire. So
feel
that's
lit
my
right now
campfire.
myself. I feel like the show has been hijacked with the
Oh,
Christmas
come on.
tree.
Honestly, I wasn't going to come on because you guys are doing such a great job. I was having fun moderating, catching up. Go on, Ron.
All right, but Amazing Ant, you're a retired NYPD sergeant. I wanted to get your take on the developing story of Luigi Mangione today. Everybody wants to hear your take on it. So you got the floor.
Everything we predicted, more importantly, you guys, came true in the exact timeline we all said, right? Starting last Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, and today, Monday. 4 episodes, and each episode, special interest terrorism, the extradition process, the cell block, or for those who don't know what that means, being in the cell, the McDonald's workers, what do we say? I said that aviation was going to fly him in. Extradition hearing. Yeah, extradition hearing. I called it before Christmas. Then on Saturday, I said Thursday. Right, Ronnie?
Yeah.
What else do we say? Oh, and his lawyer. I said she created the mental health court for Manhattan, and she was the most fine-tuned person for this particular defendant.
Let me ask you something, Sergeant. I know you're retired. When you look at this show of force, you are a retired NYPD sergeant. You're a boss. What is your take on this show here from a sergeant's perspective?
From a sergeant's perspective, I'm not surprised. You use the right word, show. This was federal. This is probably the biggest case happening in the world right now. And a lot of it is very strong presence and reinforcement. I was thinking really cellular on this. From a procedural point of view, I believe that they're protecting him as much as they're protecting the public, probably even more so from anyone. We call them interrupters now, right? Protesters, interrupters, protesters, possible snipers, anyone who's radicalized, who's going to want to free Luigi because that's the undertone. That's one.
Exactly.
That's my opinion. I didn't see the whole show because I came in late, so I don't know if you said that, Ed. But
that's why the show of force, Sergeant. That's why the show of force, because there are people that want to free this guy.
Exactly. And then I noticed, politically speaking, I saw the mayor there and other people that usually aren't there when you guys do extraditions, right, Ron? You've never seen the mayor at your extraditions. So that's all.
One time.
Ed.
One time, that was the return of Ramzi Youssef, the World Trade Center bomber from 1993.
Yes, and we all know why, right? The World Trade Center. So that, Ron, to answer your question about the show of presence, I think 85% of it, maybe 75% of it was our procedure. We have our ESU guys, the heavy weapons, the helicopter. I'm so glad that through our years together of experience, we knew this would happen because of all the dynamics. I don't like when things are politicized because it's giving Luigi or the individual, the defendant, I don't want to use his name, more airtime and more celebrity status. And I think that the show was a show for celebrity status on that level. However, you said with the belt and the dynamics attached to extradition, it was buttoned up 100,000% perfect. But I'm going to give credit to the finest men and women of the police department, of the Detective Bureau, and corrections. This is what you all do every day. And for the first time, the whole world is seeing it and paying attention.
That's what I thought it was important to show that, because, prisoner safety is the primary concern. And some people don't think that, but like the worst black eye that the NYPD and law enforcement throughout the United States would get here is if somebody either A, came jumping out and jumped them, or B, shot him or had, a chance to, God forbid, kill him. And I say God forbid because that would be a travesty of justice. The wheels of justice would stop moving at that point. So the whole world was watching, and I thought it was important. I want to play this because
like Lee Harvey Oswald.
There you go. Right. So this is right outside of federal court, and this is Luigi Mangione's attorney and her husband coming in. I wanted to just show you she's coming in on crutches. We just found out through one of our great live chatters that she had knee replacement surgery just 2 weeks ago. So here she is. Everyone, all the reporters are coming over with the cameras.
Here's his attorney.
Yeah.
Woman on the crutches.
All right, so that's them walking into 200 Pearl. It was 500. I don't know why. All right, so that's them walking. What am I hearing? Why am I hearing this problem you're looking at? Listening to it on your secondary device. And then I want to go to the ending of this. I have it written down. So it's to 2 hours and 46 minutes when they come out. So here's them coming out. 2 hours, 46:55. All right. Yeah, this is her assistant right here. All right. They come walking out of this door right here where that woman is. And you see the husband holding Luigi Mangione's bag, his property bag. So that's how I don't think he was just in court to help his wife because she's on crutches. I think he was in there because he's handling a high profile federal case with P. Diddy. And I think he's helping her. And there's no conflict of interest in that at all.
No, I think they're co-counsel. Yeah.
Yeah. This is one of those assistants right here. He came walking up first. Marshall. Yep. Listen. Yeah.
Barry, could you stop over at the mic for a moment, please? Okay. Just for a moment to explain what you said about the difference between the state and the federal charges.
We're going to respectfully decline to make any comment at this time. Mr. Mangione appreciates everyone's support. Thank you so much.
There's the bag. So I'm assuming, John, that's his personal property from in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. They probably turned over, and it probably isn't much. It's probably a shirt, pants, shoes, or something like that. Yeah, could be commissary, but he'll, depending on what it was from commissary, they'd only let him have like a toothbrush, some deodorant. It's not a lot of anything, and he hasn't been in the commissary that long, so.
Yeah. A lot of times when I would do the pickups from upstate, from the state prisons, there would be a lot of stuff. Guys would, guys and girls would accumulate a lot of stuff. And it would be clothing, blankets, stuff that they would allow them to keep in their prison, in their cells. But these were people who did a lot of time, and they were coming just to do their felony warrants from the city. So that's about it. We're going to hear more now. I would say this is my prediction that Luigi Mangione is going to start complaining to his attorneys about the conditions, just like P. Diddy's complaining to his counsel that it's inhumane conditions, and they're going to make pleas to see if he can get transferred elsewhere. It's going to fall on deaf ears, and it's not going to happen. Any predictions from you, Ed, what we're going to see going forward, charge-wise? I know you got a lot to say about stuff, but
I think they're going to up the charges. He'll get hit with some Title 18 terrorism charges in there, and then it'll be a negotiation between the Manhattan District Attorney's Office and the Southern District as to who's going to do what.
Yeah. How about you, Sarge? I'd like to get your opinion and some of your thoughts. And I love that you said Thursday. You said he was coming back Thursday, Sarge. I love you. You're the best. But all kudos to you because I said Wednesday, you said Thursday. So you win.
Well, kudos to you because I learned everything from you. So working with you guys helped me understand, especially since we did a lot of the extraditions behind the scenes. So we had an idea, with the time frame.
Yeah.
Also, I forgot to mention, Ed, we did call it and say federal charges. That was the fifth thing that we got right. I think everything, 5 for 5, 10 for 10. So everything we called, we got right, unfortunately, for this case. And as a supervisor, everyone who's listening and supporting. Thank you. But Dutyron mentioned property and prisoners. So as a supervisor, when you become a supervisor, they really emphasize that every day during training, and even while you're like a newly, promoted supervisor. Property and prisoners is super crucial. Prisoners first, obviously, because we take an oath to preserve and protect life. If you look up the New York City Police Department oath, we take an oath to preserve and protect life for the citizens, residents of New York City. That includes prisoners. And a lot of people have a lot of emotions attached to defendants and prisoners. We don't have to have any feeling about anything. It's proper. We have to take care of human life. I think that watching all of this excites me for you guys reporting the facts, because everything you reported came true. And I think going forward, Ed, as you said, the terrorism is going to be enhanced, the terrorism charges. They're going to go more into it. And John, I'm sure you'll agree, with the cells and living conditions, that's going to become a huge issue. And they're probably going to move him, in my opinion, to Bellevue, which is the psych hospital where he'll get evaluated. And I think that they'll move him there to make him more comfortable, because his defense needs his cooperation as well. And if he's physically and mentally impaired or uncomfortable, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for them to represent him the way they want.
And that would be a smart play on the lawyer's part. And Bellevue is very secure, hospital setting, so you are in some sort of a cell capacity, but it's also a little different. So, but he'll have a one-on-one anyway. If it ends up that way, which is actually a really good concept, it'll be a one-on-one. You'll have two officers right there, pretty much focused on him. It'll be videotaped on the ceilings. It'll body camera. So yeah, it'll be something.
And did you bring up, John or Ed, about Weinstein being in Rikers and how we were surprised, right?
Well, I knew he was. I'm surprised in the sense that he could be there with all his charges, because his are also a high-level federal, but
yeah,
it's just the way the thing worked. It's
maybe because he's in a wheelchair.
Yeah,
could be.
Yeah. Another thing we got right that I don't think we mentioned is that we talked about the waiving of the extradition. Remember, there was that whole conversation with the talking heads, Ed, in the media, 30 to 45 days, the governor's warrant, the governor from Pennsylvania, they got to get together with the governor. That never happened because his attorney, this Dickey guy, Mr. Dickey, was giving him bad advice. Like most attorneys, and the reason I know this is because of all the transports that I did and all the pickups. When we would have someone that had a waive extradition, they would be like, I'd have to be a moron to sit in this jail rotting and not getting any of my time as counted time.
Yeah.
See, John, you could testify to this, of how important time in and how many days when these inmates count, how much time.
Inmates, they know the time system. They know that for every, if you're doing 3 months, you're only going to be there probably a month and a half to 2. If you're getting a 90-day stint, then you will probably sentenced to just shy of 10 months. So these guys know what the count is, and they want their time to run. Or if they get bailed out, they need it to be consecutive, because they know that whatever time they owe, when they come back, they pay it off and the new time adds. And so, the gentlemen don't play with their time frame. So
Mangione is not an experienced inmate. He's never been locked up before. But when you're inside, even if you're in protective custody, they talk to each other, right, John?
Oh, 100%.
Custody doesn't mean you're in a bubble and that you're being protected 24/7. You're isolated in your cell and you're not around other inmates, but there's that communication that goes, hey, asshole, down there,
Well, that's what it is. You have to take a shower. You have shower time and you have an escort.
Right.
And you may only have 6 inmates in the housing area because of the status, but I'm going to unlock your cell after I cuff you up, and I'm going to escort you down the tier to the shower. As I'm taking you down the tier, what do you think everybody else is doing? Oh, hey, you're this guy. Or, oh, hey, why'd you do it? Or, oh, hey, put some money in my account. Or, oh, hey, I'm going to get you later, or whatever.
Thank you for bringing that up. And that was one thing I forgot to talk about here, and we're going to wrap it up at the hour and 30-minute mark. Because they know that this kid is coming from money, he now is another target from gang members in there,
extortion,
all the bad people, extortion. Right they're going to be saying, hey, if you want to stay alive, even if they know they can't get to him, there's always that 1 minute of a shift change or a shift that has less personnel on it. And these inmates, the ones that are in there a long time, they freaking know. They know when there's one less CO, when, you know what I mean? Right?
They know the routine, and sadly enough, I won't get into it, but there's always the reasoning or the logic behind the inmates is anybody can be got, whether you're an inmate or an officer or a civilian. Anybody can be got. And sadly enough, I've seen it happen. And that's how it is. You have to go to the clinic. You have to be seen. The clinic sometimes has inmate workers.
Right.
You have to go to court. You have to be produced. There's always a moment when most facilities are producing their court inmates. You can have, depending on the size of the facility, you can have 200 inmates going out of the building for court. I worked in a facility that had 3,000 inmates. GMDC had 3,000 at one time. You can have 200 guys going out to court, and you have maybe 200 guys and you have 10, 11 officers. So at any moment, someone has to go past a pen. Even if you're being escorted, someone can just slide right out and get you. So the statement of anybody can be got is a very serious statement.
Yeah. And I'm sure that Luigi Mangione in Pennsylvania got schooled by some of those inmates.
I hope so.
He got schooled and got a quick learning that, like, sitting there and fighting your extradition, because there's these jailhouse lawyers, right? Let's talk about that a little bit, right? That know about all the ins and outs of the criminal justice system. And I guarantee you, at sometime during the night or before it's lights out or whatever, there's still talking that's going on. And he got schooled that it's not in your best interest to sit here and just your time. You're going to sit here for 45 or 30 days, and it's going to be a big fat donut on your card. So he quickly got educated by the system, and I predicted it. So that was another thing. I said, this guy, within a week, I guarantee that he's going to waive. And sure enough, he waived.
You know, because of the initial, denial of the waiver for extradition, I don't think he's going to be a very cooperative defendant to his defense team. I think, if they're going to move to go in the way of, mental illness, insanity defense, he's going to say, no, I don't want no part of that.
Yeah.
I knew what I was doing. I'm perfectly sane.
Right.
I just don't see it. And, the people keep talking, every once in a while, was it a 26-year-old kid? He's 26 years old in age. And I find this a lot in my dealings with this generation. He's 26 years old of age, but his maturity level is much lower.
Yeah.
Okay. And it seems to be something with this generation. I don't know what it is. Maybe the internet and how it affects them. Maybe their lack of interpersonal skills, not being able to look a person in the eyes when you're having a conversation, and how to shake somebody's hand, or mental illness.
Yeah.
All these things factor into this. But
it's a good point, and I believe you in that too, because how much is he going to feed into this own concept of who he is?
Oh, yeah.
And if the mental, like you said, with the mental illness, it would make him look weak. It would make him look soft. It would make him look like he's, so yeah, his character would be.
In his writings, he says only he can fix this problem.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
But now that he's behind wall, he's locked down. This whole world shrinks in on him. You know what I mean? He's not going to be that tough guy anymore. He is timid. You could tell by his whole demeanor. From the defiant when he was like making that screaming statement and got pushed up against the wall to today, the reporters are noting, oh, he was very refined. Yeah, because he had time in and he got schooled probably and got threatened. And, jail is not a nice place.
No.
Nobody is nice and friendly in jail. It's not a kumbaya when you're inside. So he's got a dose of reality that is going to be his reality for the rest of his life, probably. But for right now, for the unforeseeable future, this is what he's got. And this is not a kid that's used to being locked down and confined to a small little space and being told what to do. He comes from that golden spoon where he's, from a wealthy family and pretty much got whatever he wanted up until his 25th year or 24th year or whatever. And in 140 days estranged from his family, something had to have gone wrong where it took a nosedive, and he decided, I don't want to live that life anymore. And something happened. And whatever, Ed, you speculated on a couple of things, we can all speculate on stuff. But the bottom line is something developed over time where he said, that millionaire lifestyle, I don't want it. A lot of people might embrace that, and it looked like he was going Ivy League and getting a great education. But without going into all of it, I believe that he is now getting that education, that jailhouse education, where he's really realizing the reality is he's not the big man on the block anymore. He's just this little P right now. And
also, two things stick out to me about this kid. The mother's comment that she can see him doing this. Wow. And the grandmother's will that anybody that commits a crime in this family, a heinous crime, gets nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, somebody might have saw something and didn't say something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And his posts were incriminating, even pre-homicide. When he was 13, he got an illness. He got Lyme disease. Then he said when he was in high school, he was struggling with his brain and his mind. So the defense is going to use that, obviously, right, for his defense. But he was openly posting his physical pain, which turned into mental pain. And Ed, to your point, I saw some studies recently through the Amen Clinic that studies the brain, that young males, their brains don't fully develop to their 25, 26 in a healthy environment. A compromised environment or medical issues or whatever, it can take longer if they even fully develop. So that's just a side note.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Listen, we could go all night, and Schmitty, because it's her birthday, is making demands of the 3-hour show.
It's your birthday.
I physically can't do it. Hold on. We could get Ed Wallace to dance a little bit, though. Ready? Anyways, I want to thank the moderators, the replay viewers, the new channel members, the folks who have been channel members for years, everybody in between. Your support means a lot to us. If you could just take a moment to please hit the thumbs up, share the video. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Leave us a comment down below in the comment section, because your comments are important to us. It's a way to continue the conversation after the live is over. And we love to continue and have that extended conversation with you guys, our valued viewers. Katina, again, Ed, I said it on the last show. To gift channel memberships. And to those of you who got these free channel 30-day money back guarantee. Well, there's no money back guarantee because Katina paid the bill. But that have gotten these free memberships, go over to the membership tab. There's exclusive interviews and training exercises with Ed Wallace up in Rockland County. There's a couple of 8 and 12-minute videos of me following Ed Wallace as he trains members of the service on weapons of mass destruction, crime scene, and evidence collection. He's got drones there. It's ridiculous. My head was spinning when I left there. I actually had to run because there was snow coming down. You remember that, Ed? It started snowing that day. I was like, I got my Tesla. It's brand new. I don't know how good it's in the snow. I'm up in Rockland County. I got to get the hell out of here. Yeah. So, but I stayed and I filmed. That's part of the memberships. And guys, again, we're approaching 400,000 subscribers. It's because of the great people like you who subscribe here. We have great guests like John coming in, retired New York City Department of Corrections officer. He worked up until what? You retired in 2022, John?
Yeah, right at the change of the year. I came on before 9/11, and right during 9/11, I got on the job and stayed until the beginning of 22.
Yeah. So John just recently retired. He'll come back and give us his insight as it pertains to the corrections field. We have so many great guests, like amazing Aunt, who was a fellow colleague and a sister to me. She's family. I can't tell you all the good that we both have done for each other. My father was sick and dying. She brought trays of food to the hospice center and just showed up at like out of nowhere. I didn't even ask her. She just showed up there. I was like, who is this angel showing up to give food to my family? So I love you. I'll never, ever forget that. And I'll never forget the bond that we have with the NYPD. And Ed, you are the best thing since sliced bread. I love all of your input, and I can't thank Timmy Acosta enough for introducing you to me. And you came on with the Christine Engelhardt case, the very first video that's still available on our playlist. He gave the crime scene perspective. He was out of the gate a little rusty and kind of like not used to being on the camera, but he took to it like a fish in water. So I'm so happy that you're here with us, Ed.
Thank you, Ron. But nobody likes a suck up.
This is not a suck up that I do often. So
Merry Christmas.
Merry effing Christmas.
He ate my empanadas.
Leah sends in another $2 and she says, how old are your kids? Just curious. If you're asking me, my kids are 27 and 31. Ed, you have kids like my age too as well.
Yeah, mid-30s or late 20s. Yes.
John?
My son is 6, he'll be 7.
And Amazing Aunt has a lot of extended children that she takes under her wing.
No kids, everyone. We'll cut to the chase. No kids.
All right. Well, whatever.
She's Tia.
I was a caregiver for many years for my grandparents. They were my big kids with the aluminum tree. Real quick, Ed, I didn't see you on Grandpa Herbie. Oh, can I just say quick, Dutyron's being modest. He mentioned the hospice, and this week I was doing Christmas cards and I had his father's name next to his address. But Dutyron helped me when I was a very young police officer, and I didn't tell the job. I had a home situation taking care of my World War II grandfather who ended up in hospice. And Dutyron helped me on the job, off the job, and the team that I worked with in Warrens. They have a special place in my heart to the day I die. And they were there for me to the day he died. So I got to say that it was no brainer to go to your father's bedside with you. So thank you.
Thank you.
And last thing, Ed, I didn't see you this week, but I had your your Christmas gift came in late. But I'm gifting you guys, since I'm in the spirit of giving, the SBA coin. They have a 9/11 edition.
Okay.
And it's a SBA, and challenge coins, you're supposed to trade them. So when I see you next time, you both will give you, okay?
And it'll go right behind me on the flag.
Let's go full screen with the flag for Ed. And look at that, the NYPD flag. Nice.
Yes.
Get all that.
Guys and girls, I want to thank you for spending an hour and 35 minutes of your time. I want to thank the guests. I know, Amazing Aunt, you came in late. I just didn't.
Sorry.
I don't want to crowd the box, but I knew that you were in the chat, and I wanted to get your input because you are a great addition as special guest on the show. And anytime Ed travels outside the country, you're going to be co-hosting with me. And Ed sometimes has a habit of doing that when he's training people in Kosovo and all these crazy places that he travels to. So, I love the expertise that Ed's extended Rolodex gives us. But sometimes I pull some rabbits out of the hat, like John and yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer Nobles, a platinum member for almost 4 years, maybe longer.
Wow.
So she's the highest tier membership. There's only probably about 12 people that are in those tiers, the highest tiers. Thank you, Jen. I hope all of you have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Much love. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Let's see. Shanty's Inferno says, thank you, Dutyron, for keeping this channel going. You're a true warrior. Best on YouTube for bringing us all together. Yeah, we got a great family here, a great community. Thank you, Ed, for your education. It's amazing. Yeah, I can say there's not many spaces on YouTube where I can sit and listen to expertise from somebody like Ed Wallace for over an hour. Sometimes our shows go 2 hours, but Ed and all of the people that he brings in, I have. And I told you this when we met the other day, I have learned so much from Ed that I wish that I met him on the job, because I would have been smarter, more educated detective when it comes to forensics. And I didn't know about any of that stuff until I met Ed. And so I'm learning too, along with
you, Ron. Thank you.
Yeah. So Ed's amazing, and he's got a great family. His wife and his kid, his adult children and his extended family. God, I was at a barbecue over the summer, and I almost burned Ed's house down. But I met his other side of his family, his wife's side of the family, and just great people. And
how many cops were here? My backyard was full of cops.
There was tons of haircuts back there. A bunch of old time cops back there. So it was a lot of
Post our picture, Ron.
Yeah, I have a ton of pictures and I have video from there.
If Ron never comes to your house for a barbecue, keep him away from the grill.
Yeah.
I got a pool in the back. He'll be in the pool on the floaty.
Ed had to go. Actually, Ed's son, who's an NYPD detective, he had to go in and get baking soda to shut the fire down. We were going to call FDNY, but we decided.
Well, that's the worst thing we could have done. I would have thrown the barbecue in the pool before I called FDNY.
Yeah. Ding dong. Ron, post our Santa picture this week if you have it.
I will. Okay. I got to edit it a little bit.
Go.
Some wrinkles out.
Okay.
Deborah Guzman says Ed Wallace is smart and a crazy dancer.
That's right. I'm a professional chair dancer. Yeah, man. Everything be all right.
Anyways, all right, guys. On behalf of Crime Time with Dutyron and Ed Wallace, I want to wish you guys a good evening. It's going to be tough because Christmas is coming. I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. We'll see you before the new year, obviously. But, with my cancer thing going back and forth, I'm having some good days. Like yesterday was kind of bad. Today I was okay. But it's like the days are going up and down for me. So I'm not being consistent with you guys with posting and stuff like that. But just grin and bear it because I think in the next 10 days, I should be out of the woods and good. So I always like to end my live streams by saying strength, prayers, and positive vibes to the Thompson family. That's the victim here in this heinous crime, to the prosecutors, to all who are in charge of justice, making sure justice happens. So I'm sending strength and prayers and positive vibes to all of those folks. John, I want to give you some final words from the corrections perspective on Luigi Mangione.
I would have to say, it's like you said earlier, it's going to be, or it has been an eye-opener starting in Pennsylvania. It's going to continue to be an eye-opener while he's here. He's going to just experience things that he's probably never experienced or thought about. And I think, like Ed said, that probably will shape some of the way his case goes and the way Amazing Ant said too, that the whole movement thing, those are all realistic concepts that could happen. So it's going to be interesting to see how he deals with being confined and how that will play into a change of venue, whether it's in where he is or how they change his pleas.
Yeah, very good. Mr. Wallace?
There's a few things I want to say. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to tell another funny story, if you let me, Ron.
Of course.
Okay. So somebody here said Ed Wallace, Chippendale dancer. Okay. So it reminded me of a story when I was a rookie cop and I was.
Hold on, I got to put him back.
Who was going to the College of New Rochelle, an all-girls Catholic college in New Rochelle, New York.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and
my best friend went there. Good school.
Yeah, so she was, she's from my hometown, my home college, my home high school, and so I went up there with my best friend Billy to go on a double date. Billy's was blind and mine was with my friend, and so I drive up there, I park, Billy and I walk into the dorm, and a bunch of screaming girls come run over and grab us. And they bring us to these two doors and open it up, and it's a huge hall filled with screaming girls. And we're looking at each other, and it was like, "What's going on?" And the girl said, "You guys are the strippers, right?" And yes, we are. we get paid up front.
Oh my God. Aussie J says, I love Ed's story time. A lot of people would probably tune in just to hear Ed's stories, forget about the cases. But Amazing Ant, I want to also go to you because I have to give everybody equal time. And I want you to maybe some final thoughts on what we're looking at here with Luigi Mangione.
All right, I had to clean out my wallet and I found these two things. Dear officer, we need you, that someone gave me on patrol. And then to protect and serve. And for me with the police department, and then someone wrote stay safe from the street, okay, from the South Bronx. Bronx right here, 2014, summer 2014. And I want to thank the finest men and women of the police department, the greatest police department in the world, NYPD, the greatest detectives. I am spoiled that I had the opportunity to work for this beautiful agency and meet amazing, and I'm not just saying this, detectives in Ed Wallace and Dutyron, and now to meet John. John, in the chat, everyone was saying how they cannot be confined doing your job. And my uncle retired corrections, and I don't know how he did it. And I'll tell you right now, salute and hats off to you, because I could never do that. So you're welcome. And then the last thing, Dutyron, I'm actually training myself to not say the defendant's name. Today I was at the oral surgeon getting stitches out, and the girls started watching your show. They saw me on it, and they were on the fence, and they were following the defendant's following. And when I told them the special interest terrorism, Ed, and they watched it while I was there, they freaked out and they were deleting their profiles and taking down their likes and their support for this defendant. So I want to say I support Brian Thompson's family, especially in the holidays coming up. His children and his wife are just as innocent victims as he is. And that's why we're here doing the show, to honor his life, the victims, and to remember their memory and to bring justice back to the system that's been broken.
Amen, sister.
Amen.
You couldn't have said that any better. I want to show something that was sent to me by one of our viewers, and this comes to us by Meg Lowe, and she's been following me for probably 10 years on social media. So she sent this to me, and I keep this right on my desk right here. It's right in front of me every time we go live, and I see it. And there's another card back here that I want to show, and I'm going to go full screen with it because this one was special.
Well, he knocked himself.
He shut himself off.
That time.
Step away from the controls.
It came to me on my birthday in 2020, and it says it's a picture of the World Trade Center. She drew this herself.
Nice.
And her name is Heidi Lee, and she doesn't come around as much anymore, but we keep in touch. And it says on the back, "Dear Ron, your birthday inspired me to make something special and meaningful. Hoping your next trip around the sun is just as inspiring for you. Thank you for your selfless service in the past and present day. I hope you have the happiest of birthdays. Much love, Heidi Lee."
Beautiful.
Very nice. Wow.
Yeah, she drew this herself on loose canvas, and I too keep that right on my desk here every time I go live. And the last but not least came also from Meglo. This is for my Christmas tree, and I took it off the tree tonight to bring it down here. But it's City of New York police detective, and it's a Dutyron on it.
Very nice.
So thank you, Meglo. I love you, and I appreciate you.
You should make that a t-shirt.
Good idea.
Got so many ideas, but I want to thank you, John, for being here. I want to thank
you, Ron,
for being the replay viewers. I want to shout out to the replay viewers. Happy birthday to Schmitty Schmacks, my good old friend Schmitty. Hope you have many, many more happy and healthy ones. And we will see you on the next live stream. On behalf of Ed Wallace, Crime Time with Dutyron, love and respect. Hey, we got a message from the cop team, right?
That's right.
Kara, Oscar, and Popeye. That's Ed's dog, my dog. Wait, Kara, Oscar,
and your parrot.
Your bird.
The parrot who's here saying, "I want to go to sleep. Get the hell out of here." All right. Good night to the top team. We'll see you all soon. Thank you all.
Merry Christmas. Stay